Hello, lads and ladies. Oh, welcome back finally to another tattoo story time. I'm so sorry this one took 2 weeks. I was meant to do it last week, but I completely got sidetracked with God of War. You know, I was trying my best to try and get it completed and done, so then I could like take it into game, and then get like 40 quid back off of it and all that stuff. Because once you've like fully completed it, the replayability becomes a little bit stale. Like I noticed that with the last game. Like it's a good game. I'm not going to deny it. It's a very good game. Like it's all completed. All I need now is just to get it all up for you. We're getting close to the end, so it shouldn't be too long now. But I wanted to get a tattoo story time out at least on the actual like week after the original time date was meant to be. So for that, I can only apologise. But first things first, cookie. White chocolate. It's my favourite. Sorry, I'm very hungry. I need to have dinner in a minute. I thought I'd just feed myself a little snack here and there. I even got myself some new... What are you? Beard oil. It's frankincense with a little bit of citrus, oddly enough. Citrus adds to the nice smell, and the frankincense spreads it, you know, all throughout the beard. Basically, I'm wearing it right now. You can't tell, it's a little bit non-shiny because the camera quality is shite and the lighting is horrible, so. But honestly, good brand, this, very good brand. Comes in the shape of a skull. I've got one that's black as well. This one's in gold. I've had this, no, not this one, sorry, this is new. The last one I had, I made it last 6 months, maybe 7 months or so. You don't have to go through it too bad if you've got a beard like the length of mine. You only need like 3-4 drops maybe to like get it really under the beard and really get into the skin. Anyway, you're here to see about a tattoo story time. Sorry, I'm talking about beard oil and cookies and shit. Sorry about that. Let me get up and show you. Which side is it? That's this side. It's that kanji there. You want to know what that represents? It represents family. And one of the most important reasons why I got it was to stop getting tattoos of specific family members. Because it started with my mum, then my grandmother, and then I thought to myself, right, I need one tattoo for my entire family, or otherwise I'm going to be completely covered in a bodysuit of tattoos just for my family, and I've got a big family. So I decided to dedicate it to one word, which just meant family in kanji. Now, the reason why I chose kanji was because the first language I learnt, well, small bits of it at least, was Japanese. Also, I love my manga, I love my anime, I love stuff like that. Yes, call me an otaku, I don't care. I'm probably the most otaku-ish fella in my family. I can proudly hold my hand up and say that, you know. Wouldn't say I've watched every single episode of Bleach, but I've gone up there into the 600 episodes, so, you know. Although I think One Piece is one anime I need to start watching again, because like that, I heard it recently finished, like they actually stopped it, and I really need to watch it just to like say that I've done it basically and really enjoy it for what it is. Like I know who Luffy is, I know that they're all pirates and they go out to become Pirate King basically, so it's a little bit different to what Naruto is, but just slightly similar in a certain sense. It looks interesting, it looks really interesting, but yeah. The reason why I got this is because of my family members. I want to talk about my family, the ups and downs that we've been through. There are some family members that I will talk about and some that I will not. It's mostly just to keep their privacy intact basically, because, you know, it's some people's stories are theirs to tell, but I'll tell you small snippets of theirs. So who do I start with first? I start with my eldest sister, Lauren. She is a lovely lass, very lovely. She's got 4 children and a loving, well, not even a husband. He's just their partners basically, and it's just so sweet to see them together basically. And I'm glad they're not married because I feel marriage kind of like pollutes the already strong relationship that you would already have with that person. I don't think a marriage is beneficial, especially in the man's retrospective, because I don't think that you should have to tie a person to a relationship. And even like when it comes to the prenup as well, like if the woman is fine with the prenup, then you know you're all good basically. But then prenups get thrown out half the time. But anyway, their relationship is something special, really, which is the opposite to my other sister, who's my half sister. I don't talk about her much because me and her don't see eye to eye. Well, it's kind of the opposite. Like, I think she loves the living hell out of me, but I can't bear to be around her. I can't bear to see her, basically. It's nothing because of what she's done to me, it's more of what she's done to her boys, basically, who are my two nephews. Now, it's funny how with my family members, there are so many stark contrasts to each other. Like, some of my family members are like night and day when it comes to one another. It's the same with me and some of my family members. It's very interesting. Like with my middle sister, Lauren, and my other sister, who I will not name because, you know, because of personal reasons. Um, Lauren is more of the family person. She has 4 children, as I've already stated, so she's all about becoming the parent that her father couldn't be, basically, you know. My father couldn't be, you know, in a certain sense, you know. Me and my sister were both brought up by my mother. Well, mostly my mother brought me up. Lauren brought herself up and her firstborn. And then she then had my eldest niece with someone, and then the next 3 of my nieces she had with a lovely chap. Again, don't want to name him, you know. But he's been so good to her and my 3 nieces, well, 4 nieces I should say, that he's practically the eldest niece's father in any way, shape or form. He's a brilliant father to them, and I couldn't be more happier that my sister and my nieces are in good hands with him, basically. Whereas the elder one, she's had a bit of a rough life in a certain sense. Either it's due to the horrible thing that has been done to her when she was in school, which I will not talk about, that's just too personal to go into. But I will talk about some of the decisions she's made that has kind of led her to the path she's on now. Her first husband died very mysteriously. We don't know if it was suicide or if it was like something else. We don't know if there was like any body that possibly might have done something to him, basically. And my eldest nephew really does struggle with it. He even struggles in his own relationships. He has 2 little girls, both with 2 different partners, and one of them has well over like 7 children. I always say, if you're going to be in a relationship, do not be in it with a single mother, because you will always come 6th, 7th, 8th, or how many children she has. Like, that is usually the case. I'm not saying that, you know, you should put your partner before your children, but if you're going to have a partner within your household taking care of your children, they have to have some sort of say when it comes to the hierarchy of the children in a certain sense, or otherwise it just goes all out of whack, and then that guy then becomes the stepping stone for your children to stamp on, and then they just end up leaving, you know, then you're all on your own again. It's the same with women, basically. When they come into a single father's relationship, they have to understand that they come second. But that doesn't mean you have to dismerit the person. That's why I feel really upset with my oldest nephew, that he feels so hurt and lonely that he has to put up with that type of stuff. Whereas my youngest nephew is completely the opposite. He's out traveling, he's got himself a good job, he's actually, well, no, I'm not saying that my eldest doesn't work, he works just as hard as my youngest, but I just wish he would get out of that rut of like feeling sorry for himself, feeling sorry that the world has kind of done him over, when we know that the world is horrible to live in sometimes, especially for men. But that doesn't mean you need to look for comfort in someone's company that is not going to treat you right, basically. That's where my youngest differs from my oldest, because the younger one understands this. And he's got that knowledge and that foresight to understand that, being single in this day and age, at least in this day and age in the Western society, is the best thing for young men, basically. And of course, he has his fun here and there, basically, but I'm just hoping he doesn't get himself into a serious relationship. As long as the girl is like just as serious as him, you know, you know what they say, have fun when you have fun, basically, but don't take, you know, a garden tool seriously. Don't wife a garden tool, or otherwise it's just going to be bad. And it's the same thing with a bad boy. Don't like try to marry a bad boy, because you won't control him. He'll just break free, basically. The reason why I don't see eye to eye with my eldest sister, not Lauren, my eldest sister, is that she used to be abusive to my nephews, basically, and it took me the longest time to figure that out, because they wouldn't tell me, because they were trying to protect their mother, basically, because the mother was all they had, basically, that's all they knew. The youngest one has kind of wisened up to it, but the older one is really, he kind of needs that positive influence from his mother, but half the time it feels like she's not even giving him that, basically. She's not being the mother that she should be in a certain sense, So with that situation, it's kind of up and down, really. It fluctuates from times, basically, and I try my best to keep out of her life, because I just don't want to see the disappointments on my nephews' faces anymore. I don't want to do something that I'd regret, especially when it comes to her, really. I understand that you've had something horrible done to you, but if you're going to take that out on your children, then you're not a mother. I'm sorry. And this is where I feel bad for her current partner, because she's vile. Like, she is abusive. She throws shit. She's violent. She swears. Like, she will even try to call the cops on you and like lie that you've done something that hasn't been done. She's trying to find evil in everything she sees, and with that type of toxic mindset, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't stay with that family member and still call her my sister. I always refer to her as my half sister, because that's what she is, basically. My mother doesn't like it when I refer to her that, but I just can't. I just can't see her as my sister, not after the horrible things that she's done. Anyway, the current partner who's with her now, they've been married for a while, but there was a time when he cheated on her, and honestly, I didn't blame him for it, because of the stuff he told me. Like, I just sat him down for some coffee and I talked to him, and I asked him, like, why? Without her, because she just vile crap in his ear all the time. I just tried to get him away from it and talk to him. And he told me that she's constantly just telling me to go die and all that stuff. Like, I'm listening to him and I'm thinking, oh, that's horrible. Why are you still with her? And he has the same thing as my eldest nephew. He is afraid of being on his own, and he's afraid of not having that type of love, even though that love comes with a bit of abuse, basically. It's really horrible. And I said to him, I don't blame you for cheating, because when you're pushed to that extreme, to that level of abuse, you just want something, any type of comfort, basically. But I've tried to say to him, like, the best way to comfort yourself is to get away from that. But he couldn't do it. He couldn't get away. Because with some men, they are so, like, put down and so, like, not desensitized, but, like, they're very sensitive to certain things, that any type of encouragement that you would give them, they would just lap it up like a dog, and it's really unfortunate to see that, because with a little bit of confidence in himself and a little bit of self-belief, then he could really go a long way, really. And it's just unfortunate to see, really. That's why I separated myself from that family. But there are some members of my family that I am thankful for. Like, I'm thankful for my grandmother, who's well over 100 years old. she's still alive and kicking, bless her heart. I've got the tattoo to prove it. Like you've seen this one. That's why I love my grandmother. She reminds me of an angel. That's why when she got me the little angel badge, I decided to get this one. And my four nieces, I love all my nieces and my nephews. Like I'm very proud of a couple of my nieces for taking up art, football, gymnastics. They're very athletic. It's just lovely to see. They're actually living their lives to the fullest, really. And then I don't know much of my father's side because I just never got to gel well with him. And I probably will talk about my dad at a certain point. But I feel like if I don't have, I still haven't had that conversation with him of like, why'd you do it? Like, why did you do those things to mum? Like, why did you womanize and stuff like that? But it's not something that can be easily explained. Some people do it for selfish reasons, which I think he did. But then I don't know. I don't know his side of the story. But it just makes weird type of sense when he decided to change his name. And I don't know if that was like for personal reasons or other stuff. Like he's well known for being a bullshitter. He'll tell stories of like certain things and have you believe them. Like his name kind of reminds me, not his original name, his new name kind of reminds me like of a Don boss. It kind of sounds a bit like San Marino Italian, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like your name, at least it used to be Frenchish English basically. I don't know where that comes from, but yeah, I barely know anything on my dad's side, but on my mum's side, I know quite an awful lot. I think the only person that I went to a funeral for on my dad's side was my grandmother, Nanny Gloria, her name was, but she, bless her heart, she was such a sweetheart. Everyone wore like leopard print to her funeral. She was that kind of girl, you know, a real party girl. Well, not party girl, but she liked invigorating fun in a certain sense. She loved, a laugh basically here and there. She's a sweet, lovely lass. And the thing I do regret is not going to see her that often, which was a real shame. I think out of my times that I was living nearby, I think I visited her about 10, 12 times or so, which is really a shame. I feel kind of guilty about that because she was on her own an awful lot. She was on her own. Her husband passed, I think maybe 40 or 50 odd years before or something like that. I don't know. I don't ask my dad that often. I didn't ask my dad or Gloria anything about my grandfather because I guess they weren't comfortable about talking about it, so I didn't ask them about it. Like I know I know my mum's granddad was in the war, as was her great grandfather, and I know they're artillerymen. You know, I knew they were soldiers basically, but I knew very little of my dad's side, and I think that's something I'd like to ask him a little bit more of basically. But again, the man tells so many stories that I wouldn't know what to believe. Like there was this one story he tried to tell me that he was like serving in the Falklands or something. Or he was in the Territorial Army or some stuff like that. And here I am thinking to myself, right, Territorial Armies don't do stuff like that. Like only reserves would be called up from the Territorial Army. And to be honest, this was meant to be a secretive mission, the Falklands, until the BBC blabbed and then told everyone around the English-speaking world what they were doing in the Falklands, and it nearly ruined everything. So it's kind of hard to believe him when he tells such tall tales like that, basically. Like, I feel like when I'm talking to him, I'm not talking to a man, I'm just talking to, like, a circus reenactment, basically. You know, like, it just doesn't feel, like, authentic. That's why I have no to little conversation with him, basically. And I feel really bad for his partner at the moment because of the life I feel he's kind of leading. I know it sounds like I'm bad mouthing him, but this is how I feel. I feel like he's taking her for a ride and she doesn't even know it. Like there was a time when, I don't know how she wouldn't know this stuff. Like she's telling her sons, I've met their sons, they're lovely by the way, that he doesn't smoke. Well, I know for a fact he still smokes. Like he even goes out to the Wendy house to smoke, and then he has a mint afterwards to try and get rid of the smell and all that. What makes me laugh is how she doesn't see him smoke. And then I just went into the living room and I said, oh, "That's horseshit. I've seen him smoke." And then she like asked him, and he's like, "Oh no, yeah, I have the odd fag here and there." Like a fag is like a British slang word for cigarette, in case you're wondering. I have an awful lot of American viewers, so I have to clear that up. But I'm not really on close terms with her anymore because of an incident that was not much of an incident. It's more of a misunderstanding, but I just can't like see eye to eye to her after it. Basically, anyway, I was washing up, and then she just snatches the knife out of my hand. Like it, she gave the excuse of like, "Oh, it has oil in it. I put it in the sink and I'll wash it up later." Anyway, I just look at her like, okay. I take my hand into the sink. I go to wash it off, and then she just hands me another knife. I'm like, no, I'll wash it off. It's fine. I like to do things myself. Like, don't like don't snatch shit out of my hand, and then two, don't then try and like stop me from trying to clean the utensil. It's like, really? I'm not an invalid, And then I look at my dad through the window, like thinking he saw it. He then came in and asked me, "Well, what's going on?" And I'm like, "What? Didn't you see what happened? Like, she just took the knife out of my hand. Like, I was gonna say then, like, I was gonna clean the knife and then put it away. What she was trying to do, like, it came across misconstrued. She was trying to basically make sure I didn't like ingest any of the oils, like the cleaning oils from the knife and all that stuff. All she had to do was just ask, like, "Oh, there's oil on that. Give it a little wash." Not just, like take it out of my hand and then toss it in the sink. And then she came in and then said like, "Oh, you're going to your daddy to complain to daddy, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Woman, you don't know anything about the relationship between me and my father. One, he's never been there. He's been there less times than I've been alive. I've lived my life longer without my dad in it than I have with him in it, basically. I think maybe 10, 11, 12 years with how I am as an adult. The amount of times I've seen him, about 12 years worth of time that he's been in my life. Throughout the rest of my life, I've had him not in it whatsoever. It's all been my mum. It's all been the other family members in my life that have managed to assist me. So for her to just come out of there and say, "Oh, you're running to daddy dearest," I'm like, "Lass, you fucking stepped over the line way too much. And you've fucking done it now. I'm done with you." And this is why I'm really reconsidering going back and visiting them, because I don't want that anymore. I don't want that awkward like conversation of like, "Oh, maybe we should just put up with one another." She actually said that to me. She said we should put up with one another. Well, not in that like sense. She didn't say let's put up with each other. Let's just like get on for your dad's benefit. And I'm like, benefit? Benefit? What the fuck? What about my benefit? What about the benefit of his daughter that he walked out on when she was 18 and pregnant? No, actually, he didn't walk out on her. He kicked her out. He kicked her out of her own home. Now I'm just thinking to myself, I should like just come forward about it to him. But I don't want to bring back over 20 odd years of pain to mess it up with my sister. The reason why I spent most of those years trying to make a relationship stable with him was because of Lauren. I wanted Lauren to then have the courage to then talk with him. The only reason that she got to see him again was because of Lenigor's funeral. It was the first time that he was able to see her in so long, and they chatted and talked. And even she's not sure about like his partner, basically, So I'm just I can't crap on her because she's a very nice person. She's a kind person. But she's got like second wife-itis in a certain sense. It's a thing that my mum says basically, where like there's that jealousy aspect of being like, "Oh, like you've had a wife before me and all that crap, like I'm not the first and all that shit." So it's very off-putting with her basically. So that's partly the reason why I don't see my father anymore because of his womanizing ways, and then then having to hold out that long to try and get my sister to talk to him so they can clear the air. But now I'm at that point where I can't do it anymore. I can't honestly stand being under the same roof with them anymore because it just doesn't feel logistic. It doesn't feel like remotely like fatherly son anymore because I just don't have anything to share with him, and he doesn't have anything to share with me. He doesn't know me the way my mum does because he's not been there really, I mean, you're probably thinking, oh, he's got daddy issues. Well, yeah, who doesn't? Who doesn't have any issues in their life? I'm here openly stating these because I want you guys to understand that I'm human just as much as you guys are, that we all have our ups and downs in our own lives, basically. But I can definitely thank my mother and those that stuck by me, that taught me how to be a better person and how to be a better man, really. I mean, of course, there were aspects that I needed to sort out on my own, basically, because my dad wasn't here to teach me, but I think I've done all right. I think I've handled myself very okay, and I think it was just now that I needed to tell that little bit of the story of my father, and I'm not telling like the whole story because it's just something personal, really. But I feel like it needs to be hashed out with him first before I can really explain it. But the gist of most of it, basically, But my sister took it the hardest. My sister was very, very upset. She loved her dad, and to have him kind of do that to her was kind of insulting, really. I understand, as you get older, it's fine to fly the nest, but you should fly the nest at your own choice, basically. You shouldn't have to be kicked out onto the streets and just expected to live with no support. Like, that is bullshit. It's bollocks. I feel like that's something his dad probably did to him, but we won't know until we find out. But it's something you don't do for your children. Like, you want your children to have a better life than you, basically. That's what I hope to do with my children if I ever have children. But that's one of my fears that I have to get over, really, is the idea of losing my children. Especially when it comes to modern marriage and stuff like that, because modern marriage normally favours women, and will always favour women in the West. Which is why you don't get married, lads and ladies. You don't get married. Well, yeah, get married if you're a lady, taking for everything he's got. That's the lesson of modern women, I'm afraid. That's the lesson of modern marriages, basically, I'm not saying that all women are like that, it's just saying that's a possibility, and it shouldn't be, I feel like a relationship should be on equal ground, basically. You both bring strong attributes to the relationship, and that's how it is. It shouldn't be like one dynamic over the other, basically. And if one father is willing to opt out of childhood, then he shouldn't have to worry about the wife and the son or the daughter in a certain sense. They shouldn't have to pay child support in a certain sense. Just like how women are allowed to have an abortion, basically, like at the drop of a hat. I feel like there has to be some sort of control, but that's a story for another day. I don't want to get into that because that's way too political, and honestly, I'm just here to tell you a little fun story. Well, I say fun, it's not fun. It's a little story about my tattoo, and the reasonings behind it, and the family members behind the tattoo. Some memories are more sunnier and brighter than others, and there are some that are just as dark as night. But yeah, that is that, lads and ladies. I thank you all ever so much for watching another one of my tattoo story times. Tomorrow I will continue the gameplay videos of God of War. It'll either be 1 or 2 more videos of God of War, and then I will do a book review. I've been wanting to do this book review for a while. It's like the 5th installment, or maybe the 6th, I'm not so sure. I'll have to check the volume of a previous book, but I'm sure you guys will enjoy. So, with that, lads and ladies, I thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you all in whatever I do next around here. Take care, my friends.